Hello and welcome to Pantheon for Geeks. This is a Let's Paint video for Imperial Assault, and this is for the Darth Vader miniature, and I've been looking forward to painting. So the first thing we're going to do is actually clean Lord Vader up. So we need to remove any flash that we find. And there wasn't a great deal on him when I unboxed him. But there's a little bit there just on the inside of his cloak, and with a little bit of a thing on his shoulder. I want to just, you can see it on the camera. Ooh, there we go, focus on the camera. I just want to smooth that down as well. But there's not many lines on him, so I'm going to do that. Okay, so I just used the old-fashioned Games Workshop scraper, bit of metal, works treat. There weren't many lines on him at all. It's a pretty good cast, this one. That shoulder's been tidied up. That little hole that was on there is gone. And then there's a line, you can see a little bit still hanging off. I need to just give it a brush before I spray that. But I'm going to spray that in a second. Just give that a brush, and then we're going to spray it in Chaos Black. Now you can paint Vader from white. If you've watched my previous Stormtrooper video, you could paint him up the same way I did the weapons on the Stormtroopers and on the E-Web Troopers, and it will give you a nice grey black tone, but I want to really go for really dark colours, so I'm going to start with the black undercoat on Vader. So I'm going to do that, and then I shall be back with you. Okay, so Darth Vader has now been undercoated in black. So what we're going to do, we're going to dry brush the whole model using Scaven Black Dinge. So yeah, everything, apart from the sabre. That doesn't need dry brushing, so we're going to do that now. So I'm actually going to use a base coat brush to do it. And this just needs a light dry brush across everything, especially the cloak. Yeah, light to medium dry brush. We need to bring out all that detail that's covered in the black. Actually, I am just coating the model, if you can see it there, in this dry brush. Doesn't take long, which is good. It highlights all the black nicely. Okay, so there we go. So that's the first stage. And while it's a dry brush, I still recommend you leave it a few minutes to dry before you do anything else with it. So I'm going to do that, just to make sure there's no heavier parts. You don't want your colours to get mixed. So before we move on, I'm going to wait for that to dry, and then I'll be back with you in a second. So Vader has now dried, didn't take too long. What we're going to do, we're going to highlight the cloak and the pads on his armour in Dawnstone. So we're going to do that now, and there's all these bits on the cloak that the Skaven Blight's brought up. We're just going to go along the edges of them very finely, and we're going to go along these greaves and stuff like that very finely. You don't want to do the armour too much, but I'll show you what I mean when I come back. Okay, so we've used the Dawnstone around the back there and around the cloak, so you can see it's quite dry brushed from the Skaven Blight still. I've used quite a lot of highlights. We used the edge of the brush for that. It's a good technique to use on large areas to give you a nice consistent flow, using the edge of your brush as opposed to the point. Use the point of the brush for the mask and the armour pieces. But that is the Dawnstone section done. We want to wait for that to dry now, and then we'll move on. So now that Vader has dried, we are going to coat the whole model in Null Oil. Everything. Apart from the blade, we don't really need to do the sabre blade. Everything else needs to be coated in Null Oil. And the base, obviously. So I'm going to use a big wash brush for this. May as well. You don't need to be exact for this purpose. I'm just going to cover the whole thing in Null Oil. So you can be pretty slapdash about this part. But obviously anything you waste is just waste. It's not like putting a glaze on. If you've ever used a shade, you know what I mean. it can pretty much go everywhere. And everywhere it goes. Sprays everywhere. Top tip, put a newspaper down or something, because this is going to go all over the place. So there we go. He is covered in non-oil very quickly, and you need to let that dry, and that's going to take a good 20 minutes to dry probably, at least. You need to make sure it's bone dry before you do anything else with it. So I'll be back with you once that's dried. Okay, so what I also did, I gave a second coat of non-oil onto Lord Vader after the first, and let that dry. So now we have this nice black, which I'm quite happy with. I'm actually going to get some Abaddon black though. I'm going to paint the lenses on his eyes in Abaddon black, just to bring them out and make them look darker. There we go. That easy. Okay, so the next stage, we're going to do some red on Vader. So you have to look at some pictures of him. The lights on his chest are in reds. The ones on his belt are in greens. I think they do change sometimes in the film, but in essence, you should put some red on those little lights. Like so. Yep. We're also going to do the lightsaber in red at this point. And this is Mephiston red that I'm using to do this. They're going to be quite bright red. Okay, so there we go. So I need to wait for that to dry now before I move on to the next stage. Okay, so the red has dried. There we go. So I'm going to get some Carbo Crimson. And we're going to stick that over the control panel and over the lightsaber. Just a little bit on the control panel, not too much. And we're also going to put a very small amount on the lenses of his eyes. Hopefully you can see that on there. Because Darth Vader's got very slightly red tinted eyes. Very slightly red tinted eyes. I think it's because he's got red screens underneath them. When you see him in Revenge of the Sith, you see the red screens. And I was watching Star Wars again yesterday before I painted this, just to look at Vader, and at one point you can see the red tint in his eyes. I quite liked the idea of his eyes being slightly red. Just hope that's going to pick it up. If it doesn't, I'll put some blood glitter on over the top of it as well. But I'll have to wait for that to dry before we move on to the next stage. Okay, so while I was waiting for the red to dry, I had a good look at the Vader again. And I decided to reapply a few highlights just to his helmet, using Dawnstone. There we go, Butterfingers again. And just to the back of the cloak and to the edges of the cloak, where it got a little bit too dark, and you couldn't really see the detail as well. So I've added some highlights to that. I'm a bit happy with how that's turned out. Hopefully you can see that now. So next thing, we're going to paint Mephiston red back over the lightsaber, but we're going to leave a little bit near the handle, just with that slightly darker colour that there is there now. And you want a nice single stroke to the end of the blade, like so. And you might have to do a couple of layers of this just to make it smooth. You want a nice consistent look to this at the moment. And then we're just going to put, again, back on where the chest lights are, we're just going to put them back in red, very carefully. Like so. And then we need to wait for that to dry. And then we should move on to the next stage. Okay, so the next stage is Evil Sun's Scarlet. So we're going to put a little bit of highlights on the chest lights using this, using a very small amount. And then we're going to apply to the sword, the lightsaber. We're going to do that by painting, again, a bit like we did last time. We're going to leave a little bit of the Mephiston nearer the handle, but we're going to paint the whole end of the sword in this. And again, you want smooth, long coats, moving in one direction all the time to the end of the lightsaber. It might take a couple of coats to get a nice smooth finish on this. So that's the first coat. There we go. So now I'll just wait for that to dry, and then we'll probably apply another coat to make it come out, and then we should continue. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do the light coming from the lightsaber, which is a difficult thing to do because you're actually just making something that's light, which you can't really do. So it's going to be a bit of a strange effect, this. But the first thing to do is make sort of a metallic red colour. The best way to do that is to get the last colour we mixed, which was Evil Sun's, and a nice Runefang steel colour. And what we'll do, we'll paint a line up the middle to make it look like it's glowing, sort of a glowing effect. So a 50-50 mix of these two. That's what we need now. And then it's going to be one thin line up the middle. And it may take a few layers to get the consistency we want. Okay. We're not going to need a lot of paint, so we don't need to mix a little bit. Okay, so that's kind of the colour we're going for, that colour there. We need to paint a line of that to the centre of the lightsaber, so I'm going to do that now. Okay, like so. Camera doesn't pick up very well, but we'll do in a minute, because what we're going to do, once that's dried, we're going to add some more Runefang steel into the mix. So now we've got this kind of consistency. Touch on a little bit of that. I'm just going to follow the same line again. Like so. So perhaps you can begin to see that on the camera now. Now once that's dried, we're going to do a few more layers of that to give it a colour, and then we're going to lighten it in again with some more Runefang steel. Okay, so after a few more layers, there you go, you can probably see it a bit better. We lightened that up a little bit more. So now we're just going to do one thin line along there with Runefang steel on its own. And you're going to want the smallest brush you've got, again, if you're going to do this. And you just want to follow a straight line down that blade of pure Runefang steel. It may take a couple of coats to get this just right. But you want to leave plenty of what you've just done on either side of the line. like so. I'll give that one more coat once that has fully dried, and I shall be back with you. Okay, so there you go. So that's there for now. Now what we're going to do is we're going to paint the other metallic parts on Darth Vader. And the chain around his cloak is actually black when you see it in some of the films, but I'm going to do it in silver just to make it stand out a bit. And I'm going to use Runefang steel again, but just a very, very small amount of it. Then there's the belt buckle and the lightsaber handle. All those bits need doing. So when I've done, oh yeah, and also down either side of the lights on his chest, there's like a small line. I don't know if you can see that on there. It's very dark. We're going to paint a Runefang steel line down either side, just to make it a little bit glowy. I should be back with you when I've done. Okay, so that's dry now. So you can see where I've put the Runefang. I've also put two little dots on his mask at the front. So I'm going to cover those areas in Null Oil, just to darken them down a bit because they're a bit bright compared to the rest of the model. Which is just there, the belt, this side bit as well, and the lightsaber. Just a little bit across the chain as well, around his cloak. Like so. So now I have to wait for that to dry before I move on. Okay, the next stage we're going to do a bit of lighting on the lightsaber and on the cloak to show sort of a glow. So to do that we're going to use bloodletter glaze, and we're also going to wash that down with some Alamian medium, which is there. So we're going to get about a 50-50 mix to start with, maybe a bit less actually. I think 2/3 Lamian actually, 2/3 Lamian, 1 bloodletter. And then we can do multiple layers, so that's not really a problem. So get the mix done first. So you end up with a very runny mix there. So I'm just going to cover the blade. In this. And then, like so. And then we're going to go over the cloak, just the areas opposite the blade. Like so, if you can see it glistening a bit more. And we're going to go up the right arm with this, the right hand, and just the very edge of the right side of Vader's mask, like so. So now we need to wait for that to dry, and we're going to apply another layer after that. Okay, so I've built up 4 layers now of that bloodletter Lamian mix. So there you go. So I hope you can see the way that reflects onto those parts. Turn it around, black, 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 lightsaber, lights up in red, down that side of his body. So the last thing to do on this model is just some finishing touches. So I'm going to put some bloodletter glaze onto the eye sockets because I forgot to do that when I was doing the rest. Quite happy with how the lightsaber's turned out. It's just shiny enough, I think. We're just going to go over some of the areas in Abaddon Black, especially these bits here, just to tidy them up a bit. Okay, and then I should be back with you once I've done that. Okay, so what I've also done, I've used a little bit of white scar. That's the layer paint. Just on the lights on his chest, and to do a slight lighting effect in his eyes, just by putting a little pinpoint of white, just so it looks like it's reflecting from those eye sockets. And the last thing I'm going to do is put some little green lights on this side panel on his belt. just to match, I think it was Empire, or was it Jedi I was watching, where I saw the green panels on the green lights on the side. So I'm going to just actually put some warpstone glow onto that bit there. So, like so. And I'm just going to wait for that to dry. Okay, so I've highlighted the warpstone with some white scar on there, and then once that's dried I'm going to give that a little bit of a glaze. So I'm just waiting for that to dry now, so we'll be back in a second. Okay, so we're going to use a watch a green glaze just over those little panels there on its side. So I need a very small amount of this. Use a little bit of a lighting effect as well, just coming away from it. Very localised around there. You see it shining a bit if the camera will focus. Because it's nowhere near as bright as the lightsaber. So it's just a tiny little glow there. And once that's dried, Vader is done. So the last thing to do on him is just to, as I'm not doing scenic bases on these, if you've seen the Stormtrooper video, you'll see how I painted the bases on the Stormtroopers. We're going to be using standard Macarius Mechanicus even. Standard grey. Macarius, what am I on about? Mechanicus standard grey. Got a base coat, we're going to cover the base in that. And that will be Vader done. So we'll be back when I've done that and it's dried. Okay, so that's Darth Vader finished. There he is. Thought my camera's picking up the detail and stuff. The subtle lighting. Quite like it. I'm quite impressed. I really like the lightsaber, how that's turned out. Yeah, I really like the model. I really like the lightsaber. It's a very dark model, so that's why I've done the lighting effects and stuff on it, just to try and change the tones. But that's it. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope it's given you some ideas if you didn't have any to start with on how to paint him. And it's pretty straightforward. But cool, yeah, quite like that. So thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe if you haven't already. It helps out loads if you do. And have a great day. Thank you very much. Bye.